When I look at spiritual teachers online, nowhere do I find the real explanation of free will or the lack thereof. So if you want to understand it once and for all, keep watching. Warning, this video might completely change the way you see yourself and your will, and could therefore very well mean a quantum leap in the awakening of your consciousness to itself. For some people, the idea of there being no free will comes like a blessing. They feel very good about it because it means that there is some kind of an external force, God if you will, that is going to take care of them and that is pulling the strings, and they can just lay back and let everything happen because everything is predetermined and everything will work out anyways because they are guided and guarded by an external force. But most people seem to think the opposite way. I hear way more people feeling discomfort and feeling resistance towards the idea that there is no free will, because this makes them feel powerless, or they feel passive, like they're left in the mercy of their fate and there's nothing they can do about it. It's like they cannot act on their excitement because it doesn't matter, because everything is predetermined. Like there is a external force that can be benevolent or not, doesn't even matter, but that force has a plan for everybody, and that plan is predetermined. And we, as conscious beings, can only walk the path that somebody else or something else lays before us. We just have to follow that, and no matter what we do, we cannot change it. It's all in vain, it's all a waste of energy. That's a terrible feeling. Now, what I can fill you in on right now is that the absence of free will does not mean that your future is predetermined. It does not mean that you cannot act on your excitement or can make changes for your future or for your present. It does not mean that you cannot have an active part in the creation of your happiness and the awakening of your consciousness. So I personally struggled with the question of free will for a very, very long time. And one of the things that was crucial in my understanding of it was the understanding of time. Now, we can talk a long time about time, but this video is about free will, so I'm going to keep it very short, but I'll give you the explanation of time in a nutshell. So, take a look at this pen here. This pen is made up of plastic. Now, plastic is made of crude oil. When you look at this pen, do you find crude oil in it? No. When you look at it under a microscope, you don't find crude oil. You find atoms eventually. You find molecules and you find atoms. You're going to find carbon and hydrogen atoms, mostly. Now, what is crude oil made of? Crude oil is made up of marine life millions of years ago. And marine life is made up of sunlight and vegetation and so on. So this pen contains marine life millions of years ago. But like we said, if you look at it under a magnifying glass or under a microscope, we do not find it. So where is this marine life in this pen? It isn't. All this thing is atoms, and atoms are energy. Atoms and energy are the same thing in a different form. So you can do that with all of the objects that you see around you. The same thing is with your own self. The matter of your body was once stardust, and it will become billions of other forms after you die. Now, this means that all energy is continuously recycled. But in every moment, the energy around you, all of the matter around you, is only existing in its current configuration right now. And is always moving. That means that the next moment, this energy is in a different formation. The future does not exist. It is unwritten. It's nowhere to be found. The future is in our head. We can formulate a future based on knowledge of the past, which is also in our head. Like we said, there is no marine life in here. There's no crude oil in here. There's only the appearance of it, what we see right now, how it can be used right now. And its energy, its matter, is recycled and will be recycled again after this form has disintegrated. So it only exists now in its form that it is right now. And it's all of its past and all of its future, if you want, is in our perception. It's part of the human makeup. The human complex brain creates time. The human brain creates time, and it creates the whole human world. And that is projected outwardly. So everything that we seem to experience out there, like time, is our own creation. Our mind, our brain creates things like time and then projects it into the world. The outer world is a projection of our own mind. So it seems like time is out there, but just like there's no marine life in this thing, there's no crude oil in this thing right now, you see, it's in the mind, but it projects it outwardly. But there's no time in this thing, there's no time in anything. So this means that your future is not predetermined, no matter if there is free will or not, because the future is unwritten, it does not exist. And whatever you do in this moment creates a different future. It creates a different now, and it creates therefore a different future. So let nobody tell you what the future is going to be like. Nobody can predict the future because it doesn't exist, it's unwritten. But of course there are people who are sensitive enough to read the present and can then see how this present is going to lead to a certain future. But if you change your present, then you're going to have a whole different future. And that future, nobody can predict. So what is driving your bus? What is the motivation of your life? What is the chooser in your life? Well, there are two options, and none of those two options have free will in them. But that's not a problem, you're going to see that. So the first possible motivation is conditioning. Conditioning, most people live by conditioning. So their consciousness is completely cut up in a world that has been given to them by their environment throughout the course of their life. And they're not even aware that they're living out a conditioning. So now the second motivation that people can have, this happens when people become conscious of the fact that they are living their conditioned mind, and they might step away from it. They start to see that maybe this conditioned mind, the thought that I wanted to be a doctor all my life, maybe this is actually given to me because my family, we have a family of doctors, and my parents have always said that I wanted to be a doctor, and they always steered me in that direction. So I just presumed that that was what I was going to do. But maybe I'm destined for something else. Maybe I want to be a painter, let's say. They start to see this now because they see through their conditioning, and then other options come in. And maybe these options are more authentic, right? These are people who are starting to do a spiritual practice. So you could say that the motivation of the second example is the motivation of the higher self. So the higher self is now going to guide the person into some choices and motivations that are more authentic than the conditioned mind. Now it seems to be that there is free will because you choose that which you truly want. But truly, when you choose from your higher self, when you have the feeling that you choose from your higher self, it's like you pull your information or your choices from like a well of wisdom. It's like Marcus Aurelius, he used to do it, he called that his inner compass. So he would check in with himself, with his inner compass, whenever he had to make choices. And this was like his wisdom. This was like his grounding and his wisdom, and then he would be able to make a more profound and a true choice because he pulled from wisdom. But now this wisdom, this well of wisdom, is there when you externalize your higher self. So your higher self, you could say, is the intermediate self, the intermediate you between your human you and God itself. Because ultimately, all energy is only one. There's only one energy, and this energy is conscious and alive. It's conscious of the totality. Let's call it God. Why not? So you are essentially that, but not in your human form. In your human form, you're human and not God. And there's huge value in that. This human world is amazing. It's the Garden of Eden if you know how to experience it. Absolutely. It's not a mistake or anything. There have been some philosophers who opted that humanity was a mistake, like Schopenhauer, a 19th century German philosopher. He thought that human beings were a mistake, that we were meant to suffer. This life is the Garden of Eden. It's like the great JC used to say 2000 years ago. He said that the kingdom of God is within you, and it's true. I'm not religious or anything, but the guy said a thing or two that really makes sense. But so this well of wisdom is when you externalize your higher self, when you go into a state of wisdom. But really, when you learn to step away from your conditioned mind, you go into the present moment, you open up the present moment, and you go into the isness of reality itself, of existence itself, then you become one with your higher self, which you always already are. But your higher self is not living in this human world. This human world is not the world of the higher self. The higher self lives in the higher world. This world is the lower world, but not the lesser world. It's true value in this world. This world is the Garden of Eden, if you know how to experience it. No doubt about that. This is a valuable world to live in. You're here for a reason, not for the afterlife, or not to suffer because God is an asshole or something. No, this is definitely worth living. But now the higher self is your extension. So the less deviation there is, the less questioning there is, the less confusion. So, you know an example like this in your life, I'm sure, that you know somebody, that you have known somebody, that went through huge changes, right? Something big happens, somebody dies, or a relationship ends, or somebody loses his job or something, like a big change, and there's lots of chaos, and the person does not know what to do and so on. What do they say eventually? Because everybody tries to give them good advice and blah, 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 and they think about all of this stuff and they don't know what to do. Sometimes they go like, you know what? I'm going to step away from this whole thing for a couple of days. I'm going to go to the beach or something. Just for a couple of days to get things straight. Right? Now what does that mean? This person goes to the beach and he stops trying to find a solution. He wants nobody around him. He's just sitting there on the beach and he lets all of these thoughts, everything that has happened, all of this stuff, he lets it go through him. Like he lets it all just come through him without trying to fix it, without trying to change it, without trying to find a solution, just letting it all happen. Now what does this do? This makes all of the information, which is chaotic because it's a big change for this person at this moment, a big change and lots of things are happening, it's chaotic. He lets it all kind of settle down, then the information of all of these changes becomes more visible. And when all of this information becomes visible, he's not going to choose anything, but something is going to emerge. And then he says, okay, that's it. Okay, it's clear now. It's like he gets everything straight. He gets everything straightened out. And then eventually he says, yeah, that's what I need to do. He goes back home and he says, yeah, I've been to the beach. I've got my head blown out. And you know, this is what I need to do. This is just the way it is. You see, something emerges. Where's the choice in that? You see, this is what happens when the mind subsides. When all the information is just seen, because there is no conflicting person in there trying to fix it all. This is the same as being in a straight connection with your higher self. What I'm trying to say here, I hope this is not too confusing. Let me know in the comments if it is. I will clarify it further. It is very clear, but maybe the explanation is for some people not so clear. So if it isn't, let me know in the comments and I'll do my best to really make it clear. The thing is that your higher self, when you're in one line with your higher self, There is no choice, you see? And if there is no choice, how can there be free will? Because everything is just seen. Everything is clearly seen the more you are in alignment. Meaning that the confusion always comes from the person trying to figure things out. So this means that the more you're in alignment, the more the things that you choose appear, show themselves more quickly, more clearly. So much more correct to say, rather than free will or not, is alignment or not. If you're in alignment, there's less choice, there's less question, there's less will, there's only clarity, there's only clearly what it is that you want to do. So nobody but yourself is guiding you, but it is your higher self. It is the self which is not really a home in this world. It is you from a higher perspective, from a faster vibration. So rather than exercising your free will, it is more correct to say to exercise your alignment, because then your source of your motivation comes from your higher self, which is you. It is you yourself from a higher vibration guiding your lower self. It is one movement. You don't have to make that distinction between you here and you there or something. You as the lower self and you as the higher self. No, it is the same thing. But your consciousness is here as a human being. So that can look like a choice that you're making, or it can just look like obviousness. The more you're in alignment, the less choice there is. So where's free will if there is no choice? There's only the doing. So if you can be either in your conditioning and having absolutely no free will, or you can step into your alignment with higher self and then be doing the things that are divinely guided, so meaning that they are true for you, they are more authentic to you. You're not choosing them, you are just authentically in line with your higher self and therefore living your authentic self rather than your conditioned self. So how would that not be a choice? I can hear some of you think, right? Like when you're in your conditioned self, you feel like a separate entity, right? Doing your thing. And then you're going to choose to go into alignment, isn't it? And then tap your information from your alignment. The only thing that the person cannot do is be in alignment. Because you see, when you stop thinking, you stop the mind, you open up the present moment, you step into the timeless space, the isness, and you become an extension of your higher self in this realm. That is the only thing that the person cannot do. It is the absence of the person. It is the letting go of the separate self. So it's not a choice. It is the letting go of the chooser. And then you become the straight line, the extension of the higher self, which is then, it's like you are guiding yourself. And an extension of that is God itself. The complete, all-encompassing consciousness is funneling itself into this realm, this beautiful realm, to express itself through the human brain, the human mind, into what is then the human world. Gorgeous thing. So instead of trying to make the right choices with your free will, occupy yourself more and more so with getting into your alignment. And then there will be less choices and more things are just obviously there for you to do. Your guidance will be more direct without your guidance going into the mind and then confusing itself to then seemingly make a conscious choice. Just go in one line. And then your higher self, not an external force, but your higher self will guide you just like that. This is available for everybody to do if we prioritize a more conscious life, a getting to know the conscious state and expanding that so that the conditioned mind loses its momentum that always pulls you out of the state that you know you want to be in. It is the upgrade in human consciousness that is happening right now on this planet. And you, by taking an interest in videos like this, you are part of that. So I see quite a lot of spiritual people online, and very conscious people as well, who exercise free will. So they consciously or subconsciously externalize their own higher self, their own well of wisdom, as something else that they tap from, and then they make conscious choices. It has a value to it. It's a game to play that makes you see things in a certain perspective. So you can do that if you really want to. I would at first hand advise to skip it altogether though. But if you really find value in playing the game of free will, then you can do so. No problem. You're free to do that. If you see value in it. Remember that the need for free will, or the aversion towards the idea that there is no free will, really comes from the idea that people feel powerless and that they just have to live out a predetermined life. Terrible idea. Luckily, it is not true. Focus on getting into your alignment and see your choices disappear like snow before the sun. And obviously, no choices is no free will. It is your higher self guiding you in everything that you do. So I want to thank you for watching this video, and I hope you've learned something from it. If it is confusing for you, maybe some parts of it or whatnot, then ask in the comments and I will do my best to clarify things out. Also, of course, if you like the video, then physically like the video. Also share it with people that you think might benefit from it. And of course, subscribe if you haven't done so already. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.